John, it's absolutely fantastic to have you here with us at Collectomania. Have you been enjoying yourself so far?
Very much so, and I found that there are a number of Kansas City Chiefs fans right here in the UK. Go Chiefs!
How excited does that make you to find Kansas Chiefs fans all the way here in little old UK?
It's exciting and somewhat of a revelation. First, I didn't know there were that many American football fans here in the UK, and then to be Chiefs fans, they're the best.
We're just starting to get a taste for American football here in the UK. If we're picking our team, why should we go with the Chiefs? Why are they the best team out there?
They went from last year's record, which was abysmal, to undefeated this year. And that can be attributed in part to the coach, Andy Reid, coming in from Philadelphia, where he was not appreciated, to my estimation, to becoming the #1 team in the National Football League. And I'm proud to say, years ago, when I was a much younger man, I was under contract to Kansas City. I didn't make it, but I was under contract to Kansas City twice, and I got to be coached by the late Hank Stram, himself a Super Bowl winning coach. So I'm so proud of my Chiefs, I don't know what to do.
One of the films that I think really still holds a very special place in people's heart, Coming to America. It's a film that obviously grows in age but doesn't seem to diminish at all. Why do you think people still love that film and it means so much to them so many years later?
Good comedy is forever. I mean, if not, how do you explain the fact that generations later, decades later, people still laugh at Charlie Chaplin, and he didn't even have any dialogue? So this was a wonderfully written film, wonderfully directed, and the cast was superlative. Eddie Murphy pulled a practical joke on me one day I'll never forget. He was between characters. As you know, he played about 8 or 9 different characters, and he had these prosthetic devices that totally changed his appearance, his physical appearance. So I'm standing outside one day on a lunch break, and some guy comes up to me with a hoodie on, and he starts asking me these really, really obnoxious questions, and he became increasingly aggressive as the questioning when I said, "Excuse me, I'm on my lunch hour. Well, who the hell are you?" And I said, "My name's John." "John what?" I said, "John Amos." "Well, what do you do in the movie? I never heard of you." And I said, "Sir, please leave me alone now. I'm just trying to really..." Oh, man, he gave me a couple expletives, and he brought the rage out of me a little bit. And I turned and I said, "You know what? Your best bet is to get the hell out of here right now." He threw his head back and started laughing, that inimitable Eddie Murphy. I said, "Oh, you got me again, damn it." And he said, "I got you, Amos." And it was Eddie Murphy before he became Chocolate Brown, one of the many characters that he played, the very bad singer. So it was a joy working on the film, because how many jobs can you have where you look forward to going to work every day because you know you're going to be laughing? Just at the thought of going to work, I had tears running my eyes, because I never knew who he was going to be one day to the next, but I knew it was going to be a fun-filled day, and the check wasn't going to bounce. That's about as good as it gets. Some of the autograph fans that have come up today have had some of the 8x10s from Coming to America, and most recently, particularly today, they've asked, would you write this quote? And I said, "What quote is that?" And they'll give me a quote. So one very demure-looking older woman came up today, and she said, I love the movie Coming to America. This is my name," and I signed her name. She said, "Now, would you deliver the quote for me?" And I said, "What quote is that?" "You know, when you told the King Joffrey, or whatever his name was in the movie, James Earl Jones, who I have a great amount of respect for, you speak to my daughter like that again, I'll break my foot off in your royal ass." I said, "Oh, my goodness. I don't know if you can use that on the tube." Okay. So, yeah, there were a lot of great lines in there, and that one in particular resonates with me because I ad-libbed the line. The original line was something to the effect of, "King, you insult my daughter like that again, I'm going to drop you like a bad habit." And that didn't have enough punch for me. So I ad-libbed the line, and Eddie Murphy's reaction confirmed that it was the right choice. He said, because he's got this very distinctive laugh. He sounds like a mule in heat, and it worked for me. Like I said, it was a great, great experience. What's so gratifying for me is the fact that good comedy is forever, as I said earlier. And to have people generations later, decades later, well, almost decades, certainly 25 years or better, telling me how much they enjoyed the movie and the fact that it still makes them laugh, that's the reason I got into the business. I'd much rather do a good comedy than a good drama any day.
Another film that had a lot of comedy but also had a lot of action, Die Hard 2. I mean, within the genre, hailed as a classic, and again, a film that just people seem to love all these years later. I mean, endlessly rewatching. Can you talk a little about the experience of making that wonderful film and working with Bruce, of course?
Yeah, it was really humor as opposed to comedy. Comedy, you're playing for the laughs, but the humor comes out of the moment and the characters and the situation. I loved working on the movie. I loved the fact that we totally deceived the audience, set them up. When my character is initially brought to the screen, Major Grant, I'm Major Grant, I'm with Blue Light. We're here to save the day. So a cheer went up from the audience. I stood in the back of the theater with Joel Silver, the producer, and a cheer literally went up from the audience because I'd been established as the everybody's dad, the universal patriarch, always out to be the good guy and right the wrongs, etc. And then later, when I did the dastardly act of cutting one of the crewmen's throats, they said, "Oh!" There was an audible gasp from the audience, and Joel Silver, the producer, was elated. He said, "We got him, we got him." So we had pulled off a coup, we felt like. You know, we totally threw the hook in.
Of course, I mean, your character and John McClane have an interesting relationship. At first, they're kind of, there's a sense of, I kind of like you, McClane, and then by the end, it's just no, he's kicking you into a jet engine.
In the interim, there was some genuine three-dimensional live hostility, but I won't go into that. That'll be for a chapter in the book. Suffice it to say, Bruce Willis will never insult me in public again. You got that, Bruce?
In action films, particularly of that period, the death scenes were often the things that people talked about the most memorable ways. And I mean, your character, he really did go out in quite a memorable way. I mean, can you talk about filming?
Yeah, they turned me into a big chocolate milkshake or smoothie. I'm dangling there by the turbine engine. They cut, and then I disappear, and they took about a half a gallon of pig guts and artificial blood and threw it into this big fan, and that's what I became. So I had a very ignominious departure from the movie, but it's memorable at least.
Why do you think, out of all of the action films of that period, that seems to be one that people keep coming back to and keep hailing as one of the best of those kind of action genre films?
Well, the script was tight. The performances by everyone, Bruce included, and I concede that, were wonderful. Arthur Franz, who played Sipowicz in NYPD Blue, played the airport cop, and he was wonderful, as he always is. As I said, it was a great experience, great locations. One of the things a lot of people don't know about that film is that because the snow in the movie was such a critical part of the production, we literally had to shut down production for the better part of a month while the film company and scouting locators looked for snow somewhere in the country. So when they chose to go to one state or another, invariably that state would have a heat wave. So I didn't mind. I could stay at home while they found the snow and get paid. And meanwhile, we ultimately did find snow, but not enough of it. So they ended up shooting a lot of the scenes on a soundstage in California where the outside temperature was about 80 degrees. But they brought in these huge air conditioning units from Carrier Air Conditioning and froze the studio over so that we could simulate snow in cold weather. It's Hollywood. We're in the illusion creating business.
You've been a part of so many great films and TV series as well, and things like West Wing. Looking back, what are you most proud of? What do you feel represents your finest work? What are you most proud to have been involved in?
My favorite work is not in film or television. It's on stage. And one of the things I'm most proud of is working at the Old Vic in Bristol. We did a wonderful play by an English writer called Life and Death of a Buffalo Soldier, written by, I think his name was David Goodwin. Excuse me, David, if I mispronounced the name. But it was an incredible piece about African-American soldiers that were stationed in the UK during the Second World War and some of the trials and tribulations they went through as such. So I love the theater because there's no separation between you and the audience. I can feel whether or not the audience is responding to what I'm trying to evoke from what I'm trying to say or do on stage as an actor. and the response is immediate. So it feeds you. As an actor, I think it's the ultimate medium. I've always contended that television is for the wallet, film is for the director, and stage is for the actor. It might sound elitist, but that's what I believe.